Okay, Tuesday, August 23rd, end of the day trading. Just want to do an S&P, a SPY recap here. You can see on the daily chart what we had is what I am going to call kind of a momentum shooter bar, meaning we're in the downtrend for the last 2 days. We couldn't rally today at all, and if anything, we closed with a shooter bar. That's not a typical shooter reversal bar. Instead, it comes in the course of momentum to the downside. So a lot of times when you see these, well, here's like a hammer bar to the upside, that's a hammer momentum bar. If everything's heading up and we just kind of pause a little bit and close strong, there's potential momentum to the upside. In this case, we're coming down. Today was not a day other than a little 2-down day with a little momentum kind of shooter bar to continue lower tomorrow. So if we look at the weekly chart, we still haven't reached our weekly target, but we're trying to get there of this low and this low. I've discussed that many times on a couple of the recent SPY videos. So let's see if tomorrow's the day we take that out. Again, if we take that out, do we just take that out and immediately pop up? Anything's possible, but we still have 3 days to go in the week to see how this bar is going to close. Well, we could easily come down to this bar low, and at that point we're starting to get a pretty big red bar, and we just have to see, then you get Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. You got to see, do we kind of just hold down there, big red, which can mean into this target, or either this week or next week, or is it a thing where we hit targets and maybe reverse, close the week with a little hammer bar and head stronger? So we still have a way to go with that, but clearly I'm expecting a little bit of a push lower tomorrow given this price action. Now, the interesting thing to point out, and this is a great example that I've been going over the last couple of days of pre-market activity. This is yesterday's bar. I kind of showed you or explained in a video yesterday how you want to look at the highs and lows of the pre-market area to kind of judge what kind of day you might be having. Now, obviously, if you look at this range, here's the high of the pre-market, here's the low. We didn't really go much of anywhere today. We didn't go above the high and stick, and we didn't go below the low and stick. But it ends up a momentum day to the downside given the previous 2 days. But in terms of this day, this is what I wanted to show you. A lot of times I talk about how I buy, let's say, the first, the opening 15-minute bar breakout. Like in this case, it would have been more of a red to green kind of move. If you buy it up there in this type of condition, well, the two things I wanted to point out. Number one, when I see the pre-market like that, I just know my first target at this point is the overnight or the pre-market highs. And then I kind of watch if we hold there or not. So it gives you an opportunity to kind of get in here, watch the break here, and then if it fails, you can break even. If it continues, great, you got an early jump. But note the way, if you didn't have this pre-market activity and you were just buying the first, break out of that first bar and you set a stop here at the midway point, you take a small little loss thinking, all right, well, this didn't follow through and it came back down. Whereas I know that we have to really take out this high in order to really make this day, stick to the upside. And that's why a lot of times when I'm watching that opening green, I wanted to kind of, if this would have happened up near that high here, I would have known it's more of a breakout of this area as opposed to this type of move, which was just coming to take out some stops up there. And I kind of explained that in a previous video. Also, the big thing was as you buy this opening breakout to the upside, it's only going to the halfway point of yesterday. If you can look at yesterday, I always talk about you want to be above the halfway point of yesterday. So we just kind of moved up there and then immediately failed. And I was actually looking for that. I discussed it in the opening video where we could, at the beginning, let's see if we, especially because the bias was to the downside, let's see if we come up, take out some stops, and then roll over. That would be a great short trade. And that's kind of what I did today in terms of looking for opportunities. Sold Netflix at the open based on that, and the only long stock I went was Occidental Petroleum, and that kind of goes opposite the market, the oil market. You can see Oxy went up nice today, so there was a great long trade there. But other than that, I was biased to the short side with Coinbase and Netflix and a few stocks actually. You could have chosen many. So anyway, where do we stand? We close here with a momentum bar tomorrow. Let's see if we then take out tomorrow's lows, which should happen. We should be heading down to these targets right here. Let's see what happens. If it's a week, again, we'll look at the pre-opening action tomorrow. We'll see if we get a move down to start, if we maybe break out to the upside first and then, roll over kind of like today. Maybe, you never know. I think there's earnings coming out after the bell. Maybe we get some positive news. The stock market kind of opens up above the midpoint of today. This isn't the momentum bar it looks to be, and you start higher, and then you get a 2-up bar, and then you kind of target up here and into the gap. and then you kind of see if that changes the whole weekly. Maybe we never reach this. I always mentioned at the end of the week last week, if somehow we come down and can't take out that target and really reverse strong, that's going to be exciting to get long back to the end of, into the end of the week and into next week. And maybe on the monthly chart, that's just a brief little pullback here. We close this week strong, and then we go up for the final week of the month and close strongly green. So a lot of things are developing, but for now, I'm going to stick with the momentum shooter to the downside. We'll watch the opening price action, the intraday, the pre-market action tomorrow, and kind of see how price opens and go from there. So, but today was very classic of after two big down days, you get a bit of a pause day with a bias to the downside, and the way it paused was that it went up first to take out some stops and then rolled over to give you some good day trades to the short side for the most part, even though it was kind of just a pause day overall. But it looks like, the type of thing where we had pretty big move down, and this is just, it shows you it wants to continue lower. And that makes sense given that we have these weekly targets. So a bunch of things to look for. Again, probably recap tomorrow. I'll look at tomorrow's open and pre-market action and see where we head. But that's it for today. Again, let's keep the bias to the downside until something changes.